All right, Monday evening is here. We beat James thrice before he set our over-under on start time, so that's always a win, especially on Monday evenings. As you're trickling in here, be sure to hit the like button. We got a panel this evening brought to you by Shady Mile Bourbon. If you're feeling good this week, have some Shady Mile. If you're not feeling good this week, even better, have some Shady Mile. Either way, Shady Mile's got you covered. And as always, we got a lot of the normal guests. PG's a little under the weather. He's not with us this evening. We got Jason. Geez, I went to say Jay or didn't know whether I wanted to
Jason?
say Jay or Jason first. We got Jason. We got Brinsky. We got Jay. Guys, go around the table. Let them know where they can find all your great content. You know the drill.
Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the Coach. You can find us at CFB-pod on YouTube and HOFmedia.us on the web or JW_HOF on Twitter. Thanks for having me, man.
You're on mute, my boy.
Happens to the best of us.
Oh,
Yeah.
always, man. Well, I'm Brinsky Shaw with the Sharpshooters Podcast, man. You can find me on Twitter at B_sharp and check out the content every Wednesday. We have various times. Sometimes it can drop at 12, sometimes it can drop at 2, but it drops every Wednesday. Come check us out.
And you know me, Jay, Unfair Sports. Got my toothbrush back in the house and it's in the back. And yeah, make sure y'all wipe y'all feet, hit that like. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to what this man is putting out there for. So, Ty, as usual, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and look, guys, I don't know where to start. Like, when just so everybody in the back knows, these guys right here, they come in here every week, and one of the reasons why I love the same rotation and we have a very similar rotation is because these guys are great on the fly, right? Nino, Fanatic, Chris, these gentlemen right here, PG, they're great on the fly. Because they don't know the topics I have, because I don't know the topics I have. I find in life, if you don't know your next move, your opponent can't know your next move. And because of that, do we start with USC? I think we do. Will USC lose out? Jay, you and I talked about this extensively. And I think we both agreed that the game we were looking at for USC that we thought would be massive, especially in this murderer's row, death row gauntlet they go through, was Washington. Well, they didn't win against Washington. And yes, Alex Grinch has been fired, but are we going to be seeing massive tangible differences in this defense? Unfortunately not. You're still working with much the same talent. In my opinion, you're still working with a problem that is the Benny Wiley strength and conditioning program, not allowing for the maximum physicality. So it's a step in the right direction, sure, but like there are still other moves. Guys, here's my question. They have Oregon and UCLA. Now, football is one of these beautiful games that I can tell you right now, I don't think there's any way they will beat Oregon, and they may turn around and beat Oregon. I could give you some perfectly sound analysis on how Oregon beats them, and then USC just destroys that analysis. That's why football is great. But I don't see it happening, right? I don't see Oregon happening, not with all of these moves. It's just too much. Maybe UCLA, though. They could get UCLA. That's what I'm looking. Jason, talk to me. How are you feeling after the move? I think this is a move we all anticipated. And do you think USC will be able to catch one of these last games?
Man, I think they could. I think that the way that things have been going for UCLA lately on offense, I think that there's a possibility. Now, we do know that it seems like every time somebody plays USC, they have like a banner day. It just is, Washington came into that game. Everybody was talking about how they didn't even have a running game, and they end up, going huge. We had that little thing that we saw on Twitter today. They had a huge day, and they were running over dudes at the line. So, in view of the fact that UCLA really likes to run the ball, I think they and like Hank's saying here, they kind of are unraveling. I could definitely see that happening. That being said, you could also see them kind of winning that one. They're not beating Oregon. They're not beating Oregon. They're going to get thumped there. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost both of them.
I can't say I would be either. Jay, what are you thinking, man?
Man, Yeah, I thought USC was going to be able to pull this upset on because Washington's defense not very good. But I didn't realize USC's defense was that bad. Like, I knew it was bad. Like, I mean, they've given up over 40 points in over half their games this season, especially the teams that they shouldn't have given up over 40 to. Like, I mean, I love my guy USCJ, and he's talked about how, everybody really targets USC and how, everybody jumps all over them about, giving up points and yards and stuff.
Yeah.
And when you really look at it, it's like, bro, I get that you think Arizona's better than what they are, but you gave up 41 to Colorado, 41 to Arizona. Then you gave up 48 to Notre Dame. You gave up 34 to Utah, and they're missing their starting quarterback, their third string. And then you give up 52 to Washington and 49 to Cal. Like, just about every game this season, you've given up almost 40 points in some capacity, right? And I think it's ridiculous that I expected him to fire Grinch because he is the one in charge. He's the one that should have made the adjustments and changes or figured something out with his scheme. And it wasn't something that was going to work with the way Riley runs the program. And a lot of people have started to point that out on social media that's not the problem, is more so on just the entire top-down organization. And you mentioned it being, Wiley as their strength guy, and there's been concerns about him, and we pointed out here at Oklahoma. So, yeah, the biggest problem is that, this was not going to work out at all, period. So, I didn't expect him to fire him during the season. There's 2 games left, and you've got 2 really tough teams to play against. There's no bounce back on this. Usually you see some sort of players playing for the coach, the new guy type of Oregon's about to beat them 42-6. They about to demolish them just like they did Colorado, because they actually have a real defense. They can play. Washington's defense is not good. We've seen that there's a lot of issues flowing through them. Yeah, they're not very good. But Oregon is going to run through them. And honestly, UCLA has a chance of doing the same. This could end with them losing 5 of their last 6 games. That would be awfully hilarious.
So let me get to this real quick. Quentin with the $2 donation, he says, Okie Light got y'all in the mix, Jason. You've been crying. No, Quentin, Jason, he's taken this loss a lot better than I took that loss Alabama had to LSU last year. You should have seen me.
You lost your mind.
My God.
It definitely sucked, but it is what it is.
I love Quentin. He always comes in with a $2, $1.99 donation to talk noise. He's a quality troll. I give him props for being a quality troll.
Best troll we've gotten. And Quentin, I still it still makes me laugh to this day. And I've told you, I think this will be the 3rd time now. You have one of my favorite moments from a live stream this year. It was the Texas OU live stream. Whenever Chris was getting after you, you had a question. You'd said something, and Chris got mad. You were coming after him, and he was like, "Oh, get out of here with those small donations!" And you slapped right down and came at Chris. Oh God, if y'all haven't seen it, it was so good. They Hate Me says OU USC bowl matchup. Let's be honest, that would do huge numbers. Listen, I think OU has a more favorable. Yeah, I think the only problem is OU has a more favorable end to their season than I think USC does. USC is going to play one of the best teams in the nation next weekend, and then you have UCLA, whose defense is insane. Brinsky, let's pass it to you. What are you thinking about USC? What are you thinking about the moves they make? Can they catch one of these games, or do you think they lose to UCLA and to Oregon?
What I'm thinking right now, man, just watching the game, I'm right there with Jay. I thought they was going to upset Washington somehow, and I kept flipping between the LSU and Alabama game. It was like every time it went to commercial, I turned back to their game. It's a touchdown on the board. I'm like, I swear to God, it was up all the way when everybody was tied up 28-28. I'm like, damn, ain't nobody going to play defense in this game? But the same thing goes with USC, man. They still not running the ball outside of Caleb running the ball, which I they're moving the ball with other players. I think it was Jones that was running the ball, and he was running the ball good, and they just stopped giving him the ball. Or not trying to control time of possession. They want Caleb Williams to throw the ball 50 times a game and run the ball 10 to 15 times, maybe even 20 times a game. But they want him to be Superman. Only thing I can see happening down the line, if somehow I can see them upsetting Oregon. I don't know why I think that. I don't know why I feel that way. I just feel like they can, only because I just think because they got rid of Grinch. And I think it's been a lot of people trying to embarrass Caleb Williams because he was so emotional after the game, showing his raw emotion like, man, I want to win. And it feel like he just got the weight of the world on his back. I feel like they come out a lot tougher. Not saying that they will slow down Oregon in no way possible. I'm not saying that, no way.
Clear that up quick.
I feel like they'll play a little bit more inspired because Grinch is gone. Like, we have no more expectations for the most part. We're going to a bowl game, but we'll see, man. I that's the only one I see. Because UCLA line, I actually like their line. So Oregon is probably the only one I see, only because I never trust Bo Nix. I expect Bo Nix to have a hiccup somewhere, and I feel like this may be the one.
Real quick on that.
Bo Picks
Real
days,
quick
huh?
on that though, man. Bo Nix got one interception this season. That dude, he got two. That dude balling. That we did not expect Bo Picks to not throw picks.
But Jay,
a little disappointing, right?
No. There's a brilliant thing that just happened here. Because you're right. Bo Nix has been incredible. But Brinsky, my man, I love it. This is a Roll Tide moment. You said, praising Bo Nix, rightfully so. You were like, oh, he only has one interception. Did you see how expeditiously he hit?
Immediately.
He said,
expeditiously. Said, no, bro.
Double that.
Man,
but still, 2 is low for him.
I know.
For anybody. I was surprised when I seen the stats earlier when I said,
no picks.
I was like, okay, Bo having a good year. But still, it be games like this. And I feel like he's going to let it go. So if it happened, remember who told you first.
And it haven't been in critical moments either. Like, he threw a pick against Cal, and they beat him 63-19. And when he played against Washington, he threw no picks and was only sacked once. He found a way to get out of that. And in a blowout against Colorado, he threw a pick. So it's been crazy that he's been in the games where he did. Utah, 35-6, no turnovers. 77% completion percent. That man's probably going to win the Heisman over Penix. The way he's playing, he's putting up the numbers. He's probably going to end up winning the Heisman. I am just floored.
If they meet up
with
in
Bodacious.
the Pac-12 championship game, more than likely that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, the winner of that game.
Who performs the best in that game will seal up that Heisman. But coming down between them two, I would love to see that. And they should make that a night game, by the way.
Got some Bucky supporters in here. Listen, here's my only problem with this, guys. Oregon, if you're trying to get into a track meet with Oregon, I think Oregon's very well equipped for that. And I know, Hank, listen, Hank says, and Dan Lanning will make some boneheaded coaching decisions. And you're not wrong, Hank, but indulge me. They're the type of boneheaded decisions that if they work, we're talking about him Monday morning as he's a gutsy guy who put faith in his team. And that's the type of aggressive play calling you're after. If it doesn't work, we say the exact opposite. And that's, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. But I got a lot of respect for people who live by the sword and die by the sword. Because at the very least, what that says to me, if I was one of his players, is that he has faith in his guys. And that when it comes down to that moment, he will always bet on his. I know sometimes it's not the most opportune, but I do like it, right? Like, he's a young guy. They're learning experiences, but at its core, I do like someone who looks at his guys and will stare at the fire and say, I will jump head first into that fire betting on my guys. It's a lot of learning to go. But I'm really excited about Dan Lanning, ladies and gentlemen. I think Oregon got themselves a dude.
Oh yeah, he's a good coach, man. He's a real good.
Yeah, it's
I
impressive.
really like him. And UCLA, that defense is just wild. Wild, we're talking about a Chip Kelly team with a defense that's that darn good. Kind of insane to see. Blood says $1,000 Texas doesn't make the college football play. That's a large bet. I don't know if I would take that, Blood. I love your conviction, though. I love your conviction.
Agreed.
They've been Texas and they've been trying to blow games. I think they've been trying to blow like 4 games this year. So they lost that Houston game, that Kansas State game.
All they had to do was kick a freaking extra point to win.
I think they did right. I think they did right.
No, the extra point though before that.
Oh.
But that was a terrible call too in the overtime.
Yeah.
That was a terrible call in the overtime. Like, I mean, I don't mind going for it, but that was a bad play call.
I traditionally don't mind when you let your nuts hang, but yeah, that you go to the next round before you start doing that.
Yeah, you get there. But listen, I'm very interested to see what Texas what they do this week, right? Because there's some talk that Quinn Ewers is throwing. Is he there? Is he not? Now you're hearing some talk about could we see Arch? Malik in that first half was great, and then it kind of just started coming undone. I think that's more of an inexperience thing, right? I mean, the kid hasn't played a lot of football. And even guys, if we go back to high school, we got to remember he improved so much during the course of his junior season, and then
he's good, dude. The
big event happened and shut down high school football, right? And that was detrimental to a lot of players. He has made so much growth. I'm really excited about his future at Texas, but I they're going to do everything they can to. I'm hating a little bit. I'm hating a little bit. Hey, a little hating is always accepted. A little hating is always accepted. If they beat Iowa State, they may lose to Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. Hey, listen, this is what I will say about Oklahoma State. Ollie Gordon is a menace. Let's talk about this game right here because, gentlemen, you guys limited Ollie Gordon to, I believe, 3.8 yards per carry. And if anybody is privy on what Ollie Gordon has been doing the previous 4 or 5 games, that's about all you can hope for.
Yep.
That kid
I can get you that.
Has been on a tirade the past few games. I mean, had he been playing the whole season, he might be going to New York. I mean, he has been putting up huge numbers, right?
And to be honest, he might.
He's put up that dumb of numbers. Like, the only reason I hold that, Jay, is because we've seen like such wild quarterback play from like Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Caleb Williams. If Jaden Daniels isn't out long, that kid's gotta, I think, be in New York. He's so good. It's just
Marvin Harrison Jr. better be involved in this too.
It's just tough.
You ready for the numbers? Let me give you the numbers of Ollie in his last 6 games. I mean, he started the season off, didn't get into carries any games. He goes against Iowa State, 18 carries for 121, 6.7 yards a carry. Then he decides to just one-up that, 21 carries, 136 yards, 6.5 yards a carry. Decides he wants more yards, 29 carries, 168 yards. That's 5.8 a game. Went up against West Virginia, said 29 carries, 282 yards, 9.7 yards a carry. He wasn't done yet. Went up against Cincinnati, 25 carries, 271 yards, 10.8 yards a carry. Man's been cooking. Mm-hmm. We got lucky enough, 33 carries, 137, 4.2 yards a carry. Something that's really hard to do.
Hey, and you know what's even more insane about that is the fact that Stutzman didn't play.
You take out going to be a dude.
You take out the 55 yards and big plays that he ran. That dude's under 100 yards. He had a 35-yard run and a 20-yard touchdown. Besides that, he's under 100 yards rushing.
Speaking of, if I may interject, there was a crime done today. The Butkus award list came out, and it didn't include Danny Stutzman or the early watch list. It didn't include Stutzman or the linebacker from Texas A&M. Cooper, I believe, 45. That young man is a dude. He is so talented. That Texas A&M team has a lot of problems. He is a solution in a sea of problems. He is a solution. Him not being on there and Danny Stutzman not being on that list, quite frankly, is criminal. Like, it is what it is. That's the truth of it.
And I became a big fan of Stutzman in that Texas game. I was like, who is this guy? So I am highly surprised he didn't make the list. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Jalen Ford made it, and he deserves to be there. That's
Ford's supposed to be there.
But so too was Danny Stutzman and I believe Edrin Cooper for A&M. Those two guys right there, they deserve to be on there as well. They are playing lights out. I was very shocked not to see those two names on it. Jalen Ford, but yeah, guys, Jalen Ford is unbelievable. That guy's going to be fun to watch on the next level. His pass coverage ability is insane for a linebacker. So instinctual. Really fun. But I'm interested in hearing y'all's take on this, guys, because I talked about this earlier, Jason. You were in the stream, and there's a lot of blame being thrown at Lebby, and I don't disagree with it, right? I do look at this game, though, and it's harder for me to singularly pin this loss on Lebby, where I looked at that Kansas game and I thought to myself, this whole game plan didn't have an identity, like top to bottom. I think we can point to instances that may have been head scratchers in the game on Saturday, but I didn't think that the game plan was as big of a reason. I thought that it was a more well-rounded thing. And this is coming from this injury or this call didn't lose you the game, right? I am the king of that. Jay, after Alabama won or lost that national championship when J-Mo went down, you, Chris, all of y'all tried saying, oh, well, if y'all had J-Mo, and I was the first to say, no, they had opportunities outside of that.
Right.
Being the champion of that, y'all have every right to feel some type of way about the officiating. I watched that Texas-Kansas State game. I watched that Oklahoma State game. The officiating was a joke. It was a flat-out joke. That was as clear of an indication as what pass interference is. We watched it on stream this morning because I saw that tweet come out, Jason, that you were arguing with. I don't know who it was. But
Greg Swain.
Yeah, saying that, oh, well, he'd stepped out before. Now, I was of the mindset that it didn't matter if you'd stepped out, if you were pushed out. If a wide receiver is pushed out, then he has every right to come back in and touch the ball. It should still be eligible.
That's the case, but that's not even what he was talking about. He was saying the picture that he had there was him on that sideline with his foot out of bounds, like that mattered. He was, and I posted a picture right back that it took me about 20 seconds to make. That you just stopped it right there. He was holding on to him, and there was one in the Oklahoman too that showed that he was well in bounds whenever he started getting tackled. There's no way that wasn't DPI. It was one.
Yeah, it was
Oklahoma should not have put themselves in a position to lose that football game, though.
Oh, I'm not saying it singularly boils down to that call, but I'm saying if we're y'all remember the Powerpuff Girls? What was it? Sugar, spice, and everything nice. Well, if we're throwing in that recipe, if y'all want to say Lebby, refs, and execution, I'm down with that recipe for this loss, right? And listen, give Oklahoma State their flowers. They went out and had a game plan. But Jason, I'm going to pass it to you, and then we'll go around the table. I'm interested in hearing you and Jay's perspective, being the Oklahoma fans.
Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't let it come down to that. They shouldn't have. The bottom line is that they had opportunities. My problem, and this is something I've been working on this video about. I decided not to go live because I'm just going to put my opinions and what I feel like is out there. But the deal was this. That second drive that they had when they got pinned on the one, they go down there and you go, let's see. It was, you picked up that third down with Gavin Sawchuk on a pass. And then right after that, you end up hitting who was it? It was Nick Anderson, gets you to the plus 35. And from and look, and these were just on your normal offense of what you do. And the problem that we've been having with them, this is something that Chris has been saying a lot. Is something that Chris has been saying a lot as well. But bottom line is that when you're doing well and you have the better talent, you have the bigger guys, you have the better talent, why are you getting tricky? Why are you getting, that just basically getting off of what you should be doing? You have a first down and then you decide to snap that ball to Javonte. I know they said that wasn't the plan, that it was supposed to go to Dylan. I don't buy it. Okay. I just don't buy it. It went straight to Javonte Barnes. I know that Raym has been pretty bad at times this year. That's not the case. That it was supposed to go to Javonte, and it's just exactly like something that Levy's been doing lately. And however many times that they've been throwing it sideways, keeping everything horizontal whenever you're beating everybody vertical, there wasn't a single time that you can say that Okie Light really stopped them. And yet here we are going with plays that just aren't working. But I'm going to tell you, the Big 12 officiating is bad. Bevo guy, you're not wrong. It is terrible. There were 3 defensive pass interferences that they didn't get, period. There was 3 of them. They gave 2 to Oklahoma that were questionable at best. And then you had the offensive interference that they didn't call on Okie Light as well. And Venables walks out there quietly, not freaking out, and to ask a question, and he gets hammered for it. He gets a 15-yard penalty. But when they called that penalty, what was the penalty, Jay, that they called on Gundy, and they didn't, and he flipped the hell out,
they
out
called 12 men on the field.
12 men on the field, and he lost his shit over it. And they didn't give him anything. So you have, here's the thing. The bottom line is it's definitely not being correctly, officiated. But that was the thing, is that we've known this coming into the season, and then we sure as hell knew it once you heard what the commissioner was saying down in Lubbock. You knew it. So you cannot put yourself in those positions to make stupid play calls too. And for Sawchuk to get maybe his second carry, he goes for that 65-yard touchdown run, and he only has 11 carries. That sounds like Lincoln Riley. I mean, what are we doing? Give the guy the rock. He had 111 on 13 carries. Sorry, 13 carries. You're muted, Ty.
See, listen, it happens. It happens to all of us, right? It's going to happen to all of us. It's all good. The crazy thing, Jason, is you said it sounds like Lincoln Riley. Austin Jones versus Washington this weekend. 11 carries, 127 yards, averaged 11.5 a pop. Why 11? I'd ride the hot hand. That young man had 24 carries on Ty's team. Let me tell you what.
It's so weird to me that, why was Javonte? You haven't seen Javonte in there in a month and a half, and that's the play you bring him in for? Just one of those little gimmicky ass plays. I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense. And if, the jet sweep, we've talked so much about the jet sweep. I hate the jet sweep at this point. But it's because, you said this last week, if you're building to something to go vertical on that, I heard that from so many people last week. Teddy Lehman was talking about, he goes, if you don't have a vertical threat that goes on that play so that's the other thing, then it's a trash play. Why are you using it?
That's why I kept bringing it up and saying it's perplexing, because I understand Levy's use of the jet sweep at its core. I didn't understand its use in the game last week against Kansas, because I was like, you're not setting anything up. Jason or Jay, talk to me. Jason and Jay, this is throwing me off. Goodness, guy, I'm too stupid for this. Jay, go.
So even with that, the jet sweep conversation is always fun. So Ty, you're right. The thing about this game was I did not hate Levy's game plan, because when he got creative on some of those plays, that Drake Stoops touchdown, chef's kiss, masterful. That Nick Anderson 49-yard catch and run, masterful. He basically schemed it to where the defenders ran into each other perfectly. He's wide open. We saw a lot of that stuff. the question I've had about Lebby, and if you've listened to me, a lot of people in here listen to me as well as you and Jason as well. They've heard me say this. It's never been the full game plan. It's always the situational calls that made me have question, made me have pause. Because like you said, Ty, some portions of the game plan in Kansas, I was asking, why is Dylan Gabriel throwing it 19 times and Jason Beam is throwing the ball 32? We know who is going for Heisman consideration and who's not. Why aren't we just putting the ball in his hand and let him chunk it? Mike mentioned it in here. The one pass that DG underthrew, guess what? Farouk caught it. Seems like those plays work better for our receivers than it is when we lead them out, because we had 2 walk-in touchdowns dropped. So it seems like in the tendencies around things, if it is a little bit more underthrown, they seem to get better concentration on the ball and they make it happen. Now, I would like DG to just throw it earlier and let them run underneath it, but at the same time, it does seem like
to wait.
It seems like they do better when they wait, though. That's the problem. The ones that he launches it before and they go out to catch, they seem to keep dropping. I don't get it. But outside of that, it's the situational stuff. That play to Drake Stoops, 4th and 5. Yes, Stoops should know where the line of scrimmage is. He should run his route directly for that. But there was a corner waiting for him. That's why they got him at the 3-yard play. But why would you take Nick Anderson out of the play, who's one of your best wide receivers? Granted, he did drop 3 passes that were right there in his hands. But he's one of your best receivers. Why would you not put 4 receivers out there, put Jaden Gibson out there with Farouk, Nick Anderson, and Stoops, and hit the guy that's going to be open? Because you're going to have one of them that's going to make a route that's going to be open, right? Why not do that? That's some of those questions I've had throughout this. But outside of that, man, defensively, I mean, we held them to 27 points, 10 points in the 4th quarter, mainly from a fumble by the quarterback on the snap and 35 yards in penalties. If we don't get 35 yards in penalties and we don't fumble that snap, they probably don't score in the 4th quarter. But we started gifting stuff. So for the most part, Oklahoma beat themselves. And I said this too. Last point. We know we can't rely on the refs. We know the refs are against us. Why are we putting ourselves in situations where the refs can change and alter the game? We got to get out fast. We got to start launching it early. We got to go out there and just outscore them. Hit some deep posts. Make the safeties stay back in fear. And you can cook them across the middle. Stogner was open in one play, and unfortunately, DG immediately was about to cock back and throw it to him, got sacked. So he was smart for not throwing it, because if he did cock all the way back, that was a strip sack. That's a fumble. So, yeah, we just got to stop putting ourselves in those situations. Oklahoma State won. Congratulations. I'm glad you won your 20th Bedlam out of like 119. Shout out to you. You deserve to enjoy the spoils. You're probably going to fumble the bag like you always do every year, and so we're not truly concerned about you going forward.
Yeah.
Nope, Ty, you're on mute.
Again. It's, you know what? It's that kind of evening. I'm just, you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. What are you going to do? We have, why would you move the pocket and limit the field?
Yes.
Yeah. Listen, there's a few things. I didn't mind the 4th down call. Because it's one of those things where I cannot run my route any shallower than the line to gain, right? And anything else is like, you can't do it. But once again, I think that's a microcosm of a larger picture. Now, Jay, you and I talked about this not long ago, right? And that's the Sooners on the defensive side have been much improved to last year.
Yes.
But one thing I'll say is Bowman was able to get his this weekend. And a lot of that came against the zone. What do you think the solution is there, Jay? Because that's been the one area where I even said about 3 weeks ago, where I was like, hey, y'all are a real good defense. Like, and man, it's your corners are stingy and man, but zone seems to be the heel of this defense for whatever reason. If there's a way people are moving it, they are tearing them up in zone. What do you do?
You find some NFL bodies. Just to be honest, it's one of those situations where, like I said, we talked about this, Ty. And for everybody else, one of the big things is when it comes to college players compared to NFL, that's why only 1% makes it to the NFL. It's because in zone packages, you have a bubble that you're supposed to cover. Most college players will only stay in their bubble. They won't shift or move. They'll protect their little area, and they're not going anywhere. You get to the NFL, you got to learn how to shift with the quarterback play, shift with the movement of the eyes. And our players are so easy. Most college players are easy to be looked off in zone that they get cooked. And so, zone-wise, we're terrible. I think the solution for that, honestly, is going more into a Tampa 2 and putting pressure at the line of scrimmage. Force them to fight past us while also, playing some sort of zone. That's probably the only way we're going to do it. Go into a nickel, put pressure up there, and have your guys run back with them as if they're still in the zone, and then pull up if they need to. And then let the safeties play over the top for deep passes. That's really, it feels like your only solution there. Our linebackers are really young. That's why you can see the struggle without Stutzman on the field. He is that field. He's the quarterback out there on the defensive side. You can tell he tells people where to go. He tells people where the anticipation is. You saw that light bulb click in his head against Iowa State last year. That's when he recognized, they are baiting me every freaking time. What'd he do? Got an interception. Almost ran it back for a touchdown. So if Oklahoma wants to get better in that part, our problem right now is that because of injuries and attrition, we're just so young at linebacker. They're going to be easy to bait. Just like I say all the time, Ty, I hate playing freshmen for a reason. And they're the easiest and they're the most gullible, especially when they play too much. Their tendencies are easy to catch. At a certain point, and Richard, you're right, Kip is going to be a monster. He's also easy to bait too, just because he's young. It's all it is youth. Once he gets past, once he gains that experience,
get on the field a little bit. So
once he gets that
experience, these things.
Well, he's getting the experience, but the problem is if you play him too many snaps, like I said, a smart offensive coordinator recognizes the tendencies of a player and they exploit it. That was the problem with the Caleb Downs piece at the beginning of the season with Alabama. He was easily baited into going places that he want to go. But guess what? Because he played so many downs, and the good thing for Bama is y'all got a really big margin of error because of how much talent you have around him. You're able to make up, and in time, he started to gain. Oh, y'all are baiting me into that. I probably should step back and play it because he's playing such a complex position. And I feel like linebacker is so complex. If you're not rushing as a rusher, you're most likely going to get baited into little plays in the zone. You're going to get baited easily, and it's always a hole where they're at. And that's where we were getting beat at, in the underneath, mainly at the middle, or in those hitch routes on the outside. We're giving too much space. We need to go ahead and use the speed we have at corner, push them boys at the line, and then backpedal back behind them. Because everybody's playing us that way right now. They're going with the underneath and just slowly moving the chains. Oklahoma State had a 15-minute time of possession advantage on us. And it wasn't because they were just dominating the game. They were just eating up clock. That was it. Quick plays. They do a quick catch. They get a first down. They were slowly just moving down the field. That was it. We'd score fast, and they would slowly move down the field because they could easily just throw it underneath nonstop. We have to fix that, but that's something that comes with experience. I don't anticipate that being fixed this year. That's a next year fix. With all the experience these guys are getting now, we'll see the fruits in 24 and in 25. But right now, man, it's going to suck.
Brensky, I'm going to pass it to you. Then we're going to hit some of these comments on it. What did you think of the OU-OSU game?
I don't think I need to say much. This is why I love Oklahoma guys, because they get it all out for you. But I will say I love Gordon. I love him as a running back, man. Because I only watched the game just to see what the hype was all about. I wouldn't necessarily say it was the best game for me to watch, but I think I've seen a little bit of what everybody been talking about. But one thing I haven't heard any of you say, we got to give Mike Gundy his credit, man. Mike Gundy is a great coach, man. With the little things,
that shit.
with what little that he works with, yeah. He's a good
it's
coach.
actually wild.
Because
what
he
little
works with and get out of his players.
The most mediocre coach in
great
the country, boy. He's the most mediocre coach in the
I
country.
gotta
boy.
disagree, man.
I
His
100%
recruiting
disagree, too.
classes.
Outside of the Big 12, he's won 3 games against winning teams in the Power 5. 3. He's beaten 3 of them. They were either 8-5 or 7-6. He's 13-33 against 10 winning teams.
But just the talent he has around him. It ain't like he's pulling out what a Texas or Ohio State and all these other schools have.
Because he doesn't get off his ass and recruit.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah, when you're right, you're right. But still, he does it with the talent he has.
Okay,
That's why.
Right. Terrible classes, and he still does it.
I put it like this: if you guys, you switch Oklahoma team to Oklahoma State, I believe they'll play better for him than they will play for Venom.
Bruh.
I believe he can get more out those guys than Venom is getting out of those guys.
Man.
I'm just saying, man. I love Mike Gundy as a coach.
Ain't no damn way.
And like he famously said,
Princey.
I'm 40. I'm a man.
No. You know what
I
that was
love
really
Mike
about?
Gundy,
You know
man.
what
I
that
just
was really
love
about,
Mike.
though? That's funny that he was actually doing that because he was yelling at a woman reporter, by the way, and it wasn't about the kids that supposedly she had said bad things about, derided. It wasn't that. He was yelling at her because they questioned their play calling in a loss. That's exactly what that shit was about.
This is what I will say. It is wild the fact that he will be able to win these games where he has a vastly inferior team in terms of talent from top to bottom with the classes he's had, and especially this year to be in the position Oklahoma State is. They had a lot of people exit, man. They had a lot of people exit, and a lot of people thought that they wouldn't be contending for anything. Now they just beat OU, and man, they could continue on down the Big 12. I mean, their path is interesting. And so I got to give credit where credit is due, because I did not have Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State doing anything this year. Absolutely anything. I had them dead in the water because they lost so much talent in the transfer portal. And they are succeeding. And I got to give him credit where it's due for this season. It's been impressive this year. I'm not a big fan of Gundy as a person, right? Jay, you and I have had this person. I don't particularly care for Gundy.
Yeah, me either.
This season, he has put in good work.
Hey, 18 years. He has 1 losing season.
Because they don't play nobody, Jay. Come on, man.
They play the Big 12. That's what they play.
Yeah, the Big 12's been crappy for the last 10 years. You know this.
18 years, 1 losing season.
Hey, man, you got to give
Texas couldn't do that.
18 years, 1 conference championship. This is his 4th time to beat freaking Oklahoma in 18 years. He ain't that.
I didn't say that he was superior to Oklahoma. Don't get that twisted. Oklahoma dominates them on a traditional basis. My point. 18 years, 1 losing season at a school that ain't really that good at getting talent.
Because go look at who they play in the freaking non-conference games.
But still,
they keep beating. They keep 18 years, 1 losing season.
And he's had almost the worst recruiting class in the Big 12 every single year.
Right. That's the point.
3 non-conference games against the worst freaking. You're out there playing the Eastern Michigans of the world. That's who
you're playing. Lost to Central Michigan, so I mean it doesn't really say much.
Michigan, it's South Alabama. They got beat by this year too.
That's what I was about to say too.
Yeah. So so they go out there and they play those guys. Yeah, over 18 years, 3 of those. Think about how many wins that is. Think about how many wins that is. Even if they just get 2 most of the time, or if they got 2 of them, that's another 36 wins. That makes him look a shit ton better. And he usually wins all 3 of them because they don't play nobody.
But nobody in conference is beating them besides Oklahoma. Hell, they beat Texas on a regular basis.
They've been getting beat. Otherwise, they would have some conference championships.
No, they wouldn't. That doesn't mean that. It does not mean that at all. See, Jason, that's the problem. See, that's Jason's problem. That's the problem, Jason. You're conflating the thought that I'm saying that he's just a great coach and he should be at the top. I'm just pointing out that he does a good job of not having them in the gutter with one of the worst recruiting classes in the conference every single year. That is an accomplishment to be able to get, as Brinsky said, that much out of so little.
Bro,
that's an accomplishment.
When Baylor wins 3 conference titles in the last 11 years with 3 different coaches, and they've got one in his entire coaching career.
Let me ask you this. Who would you rather have, Mike Gundy or Lincoln Riley?
Boy.
Oh,
Lincoln Riley in heartbeat.
My goodness, yeah.
Lincoln Riley in heartbeat.
I think I'd probably take Lincoln too.
Oh man,
at least he's gonna go and recruit. Now he's just gonna recruit offense.
But look how bad now. That the reason why I asked, because I see your hate for Mike Gundy, and I know how you don't like Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I don't like
him
either.
The simple fact that you just said Lincoln Riley go out there and recruit, and you see the type of effort they giving for Lincoln Riley. Imagine if Mike Gundy can get that type of talent. I'm just saying, I haven't seen him with that type of talent.
Let's think about it. He'll never get that kind of talent because he's not good at it.
I'm just talking about in a fairy tale land.
I know what you mean. If he was able to find a way. I mean, we've seen that before. We've seen him doing that with brothers. We've seen him get like a Darius Bowman. We've seen that with Dez. We've seen him get some talent. I mean, Tatum Bell. He's had some running backs. He's had some wide receivers, quarterbacks.
Not the type of it's just been players. You had 1 or 2 star players that were big time, but not like a whole team. Lincoln Riley is getting some guys that should be performing as they're underperforming. I wonder what Mike Gundy can get out of them. I ain't saying that he's Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, those type of coaches. I'm not saying that at all. But what he does with very, very little, man, it just surprises me all the time. I'm like,
every time. Shocks me every time.
And you know the craziest thing? Gundy is his own worst enemy, in my opinion, when it comes to recruiting.
Yes.
Right? Just and so the fact that I do understand what you're saying, right? In terms of Gundy, he punches way above his belt. Gundy is the friend you have that may not have the hottest girlfriend or wife, but I mean, your buddy looks like Quasimodo, right? And he walked in with something that you're just like, this doesn't add up. You were just ringing the bell up at Notre Dame, and you just walked in with this. This doesn't. That's Gundy. He's going to punch above the belt
every time.
Wasn't that a real?
Outkicks his coverage every week.
Every time. It doesn't make sense. And in that vein, I do agree. I do agree with you there. I don't understand how it happens. I do not get it because I ripped Gundy this offseason for his roster management, his ability to recruit, the things he does. It makes no sense how
he admitted that he had checked out 7 years ago. He said that this was after the Iowa State loss, he came back to work for the first time that he had been around the whole week and actually in the game planning. He had to take that freaking playbook away from Casey Dunn. I mean, he knows offense. He definitely knows that. And it definitely helps that he has that running back that he has, Ollie Gordon. But
yeah, no, I mean, for sure.
Bro, every time if he gets into the conference championship game, you can guarantee he's going to lose it.
Oh, well, yeah, listen, I don't think they match up well against Texas.
That win 2 years ago. Gifted in that win 2 years ago.
I don't think they match well up with Texas at all. You really got to be able to stretch the field vertically against Texas, right? If you want to beat them running into their defense, that's not the way to do it. They've got a real solid defensive front. You need to be able to keep that secondary honest. That's how you're going to beat Texas. I don't know if they have the recipe. That's why I said when y'all played them, I was like, listen, this is going to be a great game. OU does have a recipe that up until that point, Texas hadn't quite faced. Bama's passing attack was all over the place, but OU could test them vertically. You have to be able to do that. I don't know that I like them to do it, but here's the last thing I'll say on this one, gentlemen. It wasn't that long ago that we were sitting here and we were saying and commenting on how the whole team had basically quit on Gundy. I mean, you had so much happening this offseason, and we were like, this is going to be it. This is it. This is done. Well, how many games has he lost now this year? They're 7-2, 5-1 in conference. I would have never thought that. And yeah, we can laugh about the South Alabama loss because it's an awful loss, and I'm right there with you.
27 at home.
Listen, I hear you. It's an awful loss. There's no defending it. But they've gone on to beat the teams in front of them. They beat Kansas. They beat Kansas State, West Virginia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma. All they've done is win after. And I did not see them even coming close to any of this. It's why going into this game, I was like, yeah, Oklahoma State's done some good things before they got here. OU's going to work them. We just didn't see that. And I think I do have to give Gundy some credit where it's deserved. I thought this year would be a literal dumpster fire there. I thought that South Alabama loss would be the entire season, if I'm going to be honest. So I got to eat crow because I was real wrong about Oklahoma State. I thought they would be real down, and credit where it's due.
Yeah, but it's like Robbie said right there. If Gundy's scared to get talent like that, he'd be expected to win then. And when he's expected to win, he never does.
Listen, listen, recruiting is a part of college football. That's a part of being a college football coach. And you will hear not a peep in terms of argumentation of how he is one of the elites, because I don't believe he's one of the elites. You got to recruit. He doesn't. So he can only be so good. But if we're just talking about one of those coaches that can walk into a room and do it, I got to give him his credit. What's up,
I love
Jay?
expecting him to win if he gets talent. That's good.
I know that's why
That's
I said
gold.
there's no arguing with this comment. Robbie, this is a great comment. Genuine.
That's gold.
This is a great comment. But that's why all of my arguments
Mediocre Mike, boys. Mediocre Mike.
Yeah, all of my argumentation will solely be centered around doing more with less, as opposed, and I understand why he has less. That's on him. So
Yep.
you're not going to hear me singing, any sympathy songs to him. But I really thought they'd be bad this year. I really thought they'd be bad. Let's get into this one right here, because talking about a team that after week 2, and especially after week 3, whenever they had a close game with USF, I think everybody in college football thought Alabama was going to be bad. Ladies and gentlemen, they have really turned it around. I've got an insane stat for you guys. Let me find it real fast. I'm like your old grandfather who's just discovered technology and has to get his readers out to find this. But Alabama's defense, here we go. Through 9 games, the Alabama defense has played the number 1 offense, the number 12 offense, the number 13 offense, 18 offense, and the number 21 offense. They've given up an average of 19 points per game in those games.
Yeah, I picked y'all to go to my college football playoff at one point.
I did it before the start of the season. This is not that surprising.
This is not surprising. Like the Texas loss was just the conversation of playing freshmen. We talked about that. Not letting Milroe do what he needs to do. Just let him just design runs. Yeah, and guess what? In this game against LSU, design runs happened and this dude ate them alive.
Oh, dude.
Like, if that was the game plan week 1, y'all would be the number 1 team in the country at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about Bama, this surge is not surprising. I try to tell people Nick Saban ain't done. He needs to tweak it. He doesn't have elite coaches around him, but he's going to figure out how to tweak it and teach them. And guess what? They're teaching and they're learning 19 points on average against those opponents. Top offenses. Now, it'll be fun to see them against a Washington, against a Oregon, those high-powered teams. It'd be fun to see it. But Milroe's a problem. That dude's a monster.
We just
when
saw
you
it.
Let him play his game.
They just took on the number 1 offense in the nation.
Just let him do his thing. Now, granted, LSU's defense has been questionable all year.
Terrible.
Terrible. And that's what shocks me, because Harold Perkins is a beast. And the secret was, they found a good way of eliminating his even purpose, which I feel bad for.
He had a rough day.
Trying to figure out if he actually existed. But yeah.
Jay, did I send y'all the video? There was a play where both of our guards right now for Bama number 77 and 52. If you watch an Alabama game, zone in on 70. They are playing wild football right now. 77 ran down the pile one way, but if you watch Tyler Booker, he got a hold of Harold Perkins and dunked him, put him in the dirt. I mean, and then what was crazy is that same play, it started out, Jay. This is what's so beautiful. 77, Jaden Roberts, former 3-star, by the way. He ended up starting it off by putting Mason Smith in the dirt before he pulled and ended up running around and putting a bunch of other people down. Tyler Booker ran the other way and got Perkins. Now, granted, Perkins is only 230 pounds. I'd expect Tyler Booker to put him in the dirt, right? Like, let's be fair here. But it's still of like, hey, this Alabama offensive line is figuring itself out. I didn't mean to interrupt where you were going. Go ahead. I get a little excited.
No, you're. I mean, it's just the fact that LSU, like I said, the LSU defense is. I don't know what the heck our boy Brian Kelly's doing there, but Brian Kelly's doing the Brian Kelly things because you got Harold Perkins, who's probably arguably top 5 defensive player in the country right now. And you just can't figure out how to use him as a true weapon. Like, why aren't we rushing with him on a regular basis? Why are you throwing him in coverage so much? I mean, he showed you as a freshman.
It's so weird, dude, that
He's
they're
terrifying.
not playing like that.
He's terrifying. If you just throw him, he's
so weird, dude.
Terrifying. And you're just not using them right.
I have no understanding.
There's so much they've got to figure out when it comes to how they're going to run this team moving forward. But besides that, told you, Bama, that was not, this is people freaking out. But I love that video, Ty, of the player that Nick Saban that got away, and he had to remind him, "You'd be playing more if you was here with me." I love how he has such a great relationship with the players. It's like a grandfather, grandchild. You can tell there is a true love for him picking at him. The dude's just laughing like, man, coach, man, you're probably right. Let me graduate, I'll come back.
Yeah, you listen to the players talk about Saban, and the public has this view of Saban. You listen to the players talk about him. They love him. I mean, the worst is when he goes around doing his D's nuts jokes, but that's neither here nor there, right? We don't need to go into that. Brinsky, fellow Alabama fan, there was a lot of talk that this LSU offense was going to get the work in Bama and that Bama couldn't win in a shootout. Well, Bama held the number 1 offense in the nation to 7 points in the second half. By the way, guys, in the Texas A&M, Ole Miss, I believe Arkansas, and now LSU game, I think they've only given up, 19 points in the second half over all those games? 2 of those are top 10 offenses in the nation. That's wild. Talk to me, Brinsky.
Man, when I say I've never been so hyped up for a game in a long, long time, because it was just it was ever since the Texas game, man, it was just, I'm so tired of people talking down on this team. Like, this team is not loaded with talent. It was just like, we fixed this quarterback position, we will dominate. And I'm so glad Jalen Milroe they're finally using him. I feel like him and Tommy Reese are finally, like, they're comfortable with one another. And Tommy figured out, like, okay, this is how I need to use Milroe. And he didn't see on his first 2 reads, he'll take off. And I'm like, bro, you built like a tank. Nobody's going to want to tackle you in that secondary if you make it right there. And you see on a lot of those touchdown plays how they just backing up like that, like, no, I'm not trying to tackle that man. And I'm so glad that Jay mentioned Harold Perkins. I love Harold Perkins to death. I wish he would leave LSU, come to Alabama.
Every fan feels like that about Harold
Perkins.
No,
but I love when he picked LSU over Texas A&M, I was like, thank God they did not get him. Because I was like, man, this guy is really that dude. But to see how Jalen Milroe ran, I think it was for his 4th touchdown,
ran right through
and just ran him completely over.
And then he hit him with that spin move.
Stood over him. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, I couldn't tell you how loud I got in this house. I said, yeah, you Memphis. I was just going off. I was like, damn. we doing this to Harold Perkins, man. And it's just sad how he looks out there. But overall, man, Jaden Daniels was a big problem in that first half. I mean, a major problem. I was losing my mind. Like, come on, guys. Can y'all please stop running past him? And all they just kept doing the same thing, running past him. He'd just sneak out, run for about 20, maybe 30 yards at a time. And then if he had time, he'll throw it downfield. I'm just like, my goodness. We cannot do this all game. But luckily, their defense is bad. It's just bad. They ain't have no Denver Harris. And I think it was Mingo. And what was the other guy?
The other corner he's been one of their best players in the secondary went out before this game.
Yeah, but him too, like they was out of everybody. I was like, but to see us all our points come off of rushing touchdowns, that's amazing, man. I was loving everything. You can tell these guys took the game personal, from the O-line, just all that talking. And I need to see that Tyler Booker play. I haven't seen it. I think I've seen everything but that. Then the players like tagging the LSU players from Kool-Aid, tagging the wide receivers, like strapped up, like, no, you're not doing nothing. And if one video you have to see, Ty, if you haven't seen this video, he said, I don't want to be called Uno no more. Uno no more. I don't want to be called Kool-Aid no more. For the rest of the year, call me Strap. It's one of the most hilarious videos of the year. I was like, they was all on the bus, and he said that with his shirt off. I love it.
I just sent that video of the 77 downing Mason Smith and 52 Tyler Booker.
I'm about to look at it in a second.
For those of you that follow me on Twitter, I just retweeted it as well so that you can follow it along on the show.
But yeah, man, when I say I loved everything about this game, and the one guy that deserves, I feel like, the most credit for all these second half is nobody that plays the game. It's the one that's coaching that defense, and that's Kevin Steele. The man has been masterful. He has been a blessing to Alabama, because I think it was Malachi that said, no, it wasn't Malachi. I can't remember who said it. It was Terrion. Terrion said, I can't repeat what Coach Steele said in the locker room, but I can tell you it had us fired up. Kevin Steele is God sent to this team, man. He just basically sees what you do in the first half, and in the second half, okay, we're going to do this and we do that, and it just works out perfectly every single time. Shout out to Kevin Steele. Thank you, Jesus. And the last thing, the Dallas Turner, Jalen Daniels hit. If you asking me, was that targeting? That is not targeting at all or whatnot. It's so iffy with that rule, like targeting, man.
And nobody knows what that rule is.
I'm like, the man had a clear shot. This is the clearest shot he had all game on. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, what is the most respectful way to hit a guy and the softest way to hit a guy? Like, bro, he's a defensive player. Like, what do you want him to do? I guarantee you, if that was your player doing that to Milroe, they wouldn't be saying, oh, that's targeting or nothing like that. It was just because it happened to you. Y'all got it. But you were down 14. You wasn't going to come back. So I enjoyed it, and I'm going to enjoy it for the next 365, the next 363 days. So roll tide, and I don't feel sorry for LSU.
I love it. I hope Jaden Daniels is good to go.
Oh yeah,
sooner rather than later.
But yeah, thank you. But Jaden Daniels, please get healthy, my brother. Thank God it wasn't nothing serious. It seemed like it was just a concussion.
He might be the best quarterback in the nation.
Yeah. So I didn't want you to be hurt at all, man, because I hate seeing guys go out like that. I want them to finish the game so we can say it's no excuses. It's just like, no, we handled you guys or whatnot, but get healthy, my brother.
Jay, do you think that was a hot take? Oh, now it happened to you. Look at this. It's gone all the way around the table.
Told you it's gonna happen to all of us, man. You knew it was gonna happen to everybody. You knew it was coming.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I didn't think that was hot.
I think he certainly deserves an argument. He certainly deserves an argument. He was unbelievable. Jason, talk to me, man. Talk to me about what you saw from Bama and what you've seen since that loss.
I saw them running right down freaking LSU's throat for all the secondary stuff that you were talking about. I mean, they didn't care about that so much. They ran down their throat. And that's what I was saying at the first part of the year, this is just the kind of football team that Nick Saban wants to have. He doesn't want to have a quarterback that's going to throw it around the yard all the time. This is the kind of football he likes to play. It's kind of similar, you know? And when you have a quarterback that can run like bro, this kid is a monster. He's just a big-ass kid. And he can throw the deep ball, which is the other thing they like to do. But, yeah, LSU, I can't understand why they've made that kid not a freaking
Nobody
pass
knows,
rusher.
man.
It just doesn't make any sense to me at LSU. It just doesn't make any damn sense. The guy was, like you said, scary. And all of a sudden you're going to take away. I understand that he wants to be well-rounded and all that stuff. Work at that. Work at that. You got time. Ronnie Perkins needs to be rushing the quarterback. You know what I mean? Work at it. You got time. He still got at least another year. So,
God, don't tell me that. He still has another year left at LSU. My God.
He's playing for freaking Kelly.
I don't care, man. You're right. But he is still good for one or two plays a game saying, forget this, I'm Harold Perkins. And those one or two plays a game, he might do some Harold Perkins stuff and just ruin your day. I want him to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL. That way I can watch him on Sundays and I don't have to watch him at LSU anymore because that guy is a problem.
Stud. But in the end, I mean, we talked about this a lot too, start coming in the season. And even after they lost to Texas, like, guys, we're talking about a top 2 at worst roster. All they got to do is figure that, and they're breaking in new coordinators. Although, albeit with, your defensive coordinator's a new old coordinator. So, I mean, it's not like he didn't know what was happening. But with, Tommy Rees,
I got to say, man, the past 2 games, Tommy Rees has been real good, especially this past game against they're running some pistol stuff now, and they're getting creative with some pre-snap motion. And, oh, man, it's getting fun. It looks like they're finally settling, which is good. Reese is a young offensive coordinator, man. I talk about this all the time. I'm 28 years old. As far as I know, he's 31, 32 years old, right? I say that to say we could have been in high school at the same time. So the fact that he's running the Alabama offense is wild. And it was not pretty at the early stage of this year. It has not been pretty through some of the year, but it's starting to come together. It is starting to come together.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me very happy.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
they look good, man.
Kind of last thing, then we'll get out of here. Transfer portal, gentlemen. It's not open yet, but I'm going to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off for all of you. It is going to be wild.
It ain't open, but it's open.
Yeah. It's the window isn't open, but it's always open. Goodness gracious. I think we are going to see a bunch of movement in the transfer portal. I think this first window is going to be wild, right? But here's something I also want to talk about. I just didn't have enough time to make 2 slides. So, recruiting, guys. I don't know if you saw this, but Josh Newberg said something today that stood out to me. He said, since the past few years, there's been an average of 400 decommitments or 600 decommitments. That's what it was. It was 600 decommitments every cycle. There's only been 200 this cycle. So are we in for a 400 decommit swing between now and signing day? I don't think it'll be that extreme, but it is something to think about, right? Like either this year will be a massive outlier or it will kind of equalize. Steven says, does Bama want an offensive coordinator? I'm good with Tommy Reese right now, man. It's all settling in, and it looks nice. Looks very nice.
Can I say something on that? And I'm going to jump onto your transfer portal piece real quick.
By all means.
Steven, problem is, if Alabama had took Lebby, Lebby would not be conservative in the clutch because Nick Saban doesn't allow that. Nick Saban will veto the hell out of a call in a heartbeat.
This is what
I think what we're seeing right now with Tommy Reese. I think Saban has interjected himself and said, no. We tried it your way and we saw what happened, right? Now we're going to do it the way I'm asking you to do it in the nicest, sternest ways. Get aggressive. Let the man run. Design runs. He can do it. And guess what happened? He's doing it. So if he had Lebby, be the same thing. Now, you probably get a lot more vertical passes, but there'll be a lot of design runs for Jalen Milroe to go do his thing. That's the difference. And I think that's kind of like the thing with the Lebby piece that people don't get, even if you go to his past. Follow who was underneath. He was underneath. He was underneath Josh Heupel. At UCF, they were aggressive. Look at Lane Kiffin. We know Lane Kiffin likes risk because he got cussed out by Nick Saban in the game.
So is what you're
doing what he does.
He's not being aggressive. Is that where you're at?
BV, the reason why Lebby took that job is because Venables gave him full autonomy on the offense, except for the position group coaches can still have their say, but he gave them autonomy. It's kind of like, and I say this to make people recognize
because
what I mean by autonomy is Sam Presti with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He is the highest ranked person on that staff, on the basketball staff. No one can tell him anything but an owner. Period. And the owners made the agreement that, sure, you can do whatever you want and we will not say no unless it's going to cost us too much money. That's kind of what BV did with this, because the reason I say that is that's what Dabo Swinney did to BV at Clemson. BV had full autonomy. He didn't have to answer to Dabo to anything he wanted to do. Good, bad, or indifferent.
That's true.
It was on BV. So he's trying the same thing here. But I think you're starting to see him sprinkle. He's going to start sprinkling more in of, dog, be more aggressive. I asked you twice. We're doing it your way. Now we're going to have to do it my way. So I anticipate a change.
Because it's BV's job that's on the line in the end. You know what I mean?
In the end.
They're not winning. And I'm not saying that they're going to fire him after this year. What I'm saying is at some point when he's going horizontally and all this trickeries and stuff, that's your team. And you're always in there in these meetings. Don't tell me that he don't have some kind of freaking say over it. And if he doesn't, then that's a problem.
I'm being honest. That's the honest truth.
Is what I'm getting
at. I agree. He's just given that autonomy like he's been Stoops did the same thing when he was coaching with Kevin Wilson and Leach and Heupel. They did the same thing. And guess what? They eventually had to fire Heupel because it wasn't working that way. So my point is to what you're saying, Steven.
Though, he told Heupel he had to change his offense too, remember?
Or you're fired. And Heupel ended up at Utah State with Matt Wells, who's currently on staff, by the way. But that's my point there, Steven, is that if they had Lebby, Saban would have given him one game, whereas, unfortunately, BV's giving him the autonomy. Now, granted, in the end, I anticipate a change. So on the transfer portal portion of it, Ty, I saw that stat come across. I think you posted that in our group chat.
I certainly liked and retweeted it earlier. So
yeah, because it's going to be stupid this year when it comes to the portal. And Parker Thune just posted something about the craziness of the college football coaching carousel. This is going to be probably the wildest offseason. This is going to be the one offseason that I'm going to have to work my butt off on videos because it's going to be absurd, the changes you're going to see in this game.
So can you give me that tweet, Jay? Because someone else was saying that earlier, and I'm very interested in seeing what that said.
Yeah, Thune just tweeted it out not too long ago. I'm going to send this into our group chat right now.
Beautiful.
Yep, about an hour ago, he just posted it. So it's coming right to you in the collective. And I'm going to put in the SEC Connect group too as well, just so everybody can see it.
So we have Parker Thune saying, based on rumblings I'm hearing from various connections around the country, I think we're in for a truly wild couple of months on the college football coaching carousel.
Jobs about to be changing, baby. It's going to be a crazy offseason. Crazy. So, as you mentioned, the transfer portal, kids are going to be jumping in there like crazy, especially once we get closer to bowl season, like they always do. But I think it's going to be a larger influx because the NCAA came down recently with the rule that there's no limit to how many freshmen you can bring in. They completely eliminated the rule. No more 25 limit like it used to be. So if that's the case, you're going to have a lot of schools making the decision of, I'm going to go ahead and recruit 28 to 30 kids in my class, and I'm going to fill in pockets with transfers that are veterans and continue to grow it from there. We'll find out in 2 years, maybe 3, if you can win exclusively through the transfer portal.
I love this comment by Steven. He says, I feel sorry for Jason and Jay. They have the coaching carousel and transfer portal, and on top of that, they have the best college softball team to cover. See, I don't know anything about softball. I know one thing about softball, and that's that OU has got like
that's
the
about all.
UConn women's basketball program of women's softball. Like
pretty much.
That's what I know.
They're on the
juice. I don't know her name, but she left. Like their starting pitcher, she left to go home to Nebraska.
They just reloaded.
Yeah, they replaced her.
That's the scary.
I don't
part.
know if you can replace her, man.
She didn't win the first. She didn't win the first 2. She won the third one. She was the best in the third one.
No, you're right.
It's gonna be crazy though. It's just gonna be, man. It's gonna be a bananas off season. December is gonna be stupid. The holidays are going to be dumb. It's just not going to be, man.
I think it's going to be
traveling with my camera.
That was the reason for it all. It's like she's Gino Auriemma.
Yeah, that's the common denominator, right? It's Patty Gasso.
Yeah,
how do you say
it?
Gasso? Or is it Gasso?
It is
Gasso. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't want to be disrespectful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't want to get canceled.
No, it's if someone just said her name too. I don't want to like follow it up.
Messing with you.
Before y'all say that, wait till these 3 games. Yeah, I don't know. All right, boys.
Wait. Hold on though. The defense looked a lot better in this last game, especially considering that you didn't have Danny Stutzman in, and they held.
I just didn't know what this was in reference to.
111 yards.
Oh, is this talking about Oklahoma?
Yeah, 111.
The last 3 games,
it's been averaging 200 plus yards for the last 4 games.
Look, this is what I said earlier on my stream, and this is what
it wasn't about the defense for sure. It wasn't about the defense.
We're having these conversations right now because Oklahoma outperformed in terms of where we thought they would be based on last year and year 2. Now, that's why before the year started, I had this team at 10-2, 9-3. And Jason, we would talk about this, and y'all would say, well, where do you have us losing? And I'd say, it's hard for me to iron out exactly which games, but it's just the thing of y'all have made vast improvements, but there's still so much to go from going from the system you had to, it's night and day. Yeah. Everything about what's happening at OU is a night and day transition. You're still ahead of schedule, right? And I think that's the thing. There's great reason to be disappointed. If you're disappointed in something, that means you had a legitimate expectation of a different, more desirable outcome, and that's an awesome place to be, to have an expectation of a desirable outcome.
Fair. That
being said, you're still ahead of schedule. You still have an off season, and Brent Venables looks like he's going to bring you in another top 10 recruiting class.
Yep. We're leveling to the mean. We're leveling right to the mean of what we're supposed to be this year. So honestly, I think these last 2 games are the worst the defense is going to be. I think they get better, and the offense, which this is what's wild. I just went and looked through my boy Stats by Popo. Shout out to my guy, Jake Majors. He always gives me statistics that I usually make my videos off of. And SP plus rating, our advanced metrics on the offense, 7th in the country. They are roughly a top 15 offense in college football. It aches me to hear that. And we did what we did these last 2 games. We're at the mean. We're starting to get to that mean area. I think we level back out to about higher, but defensively, we're like in the 30s. That's a massive jump from what we were last year. I think we stick in that area, and I think that's where we stay for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
Scary.
It's going to be.
Like you said,
fascinating.
we're ahead of schedule, and I am very pleased with the fact that we are ahead of schedule. We're just losing games we shouldn't lose. It's the stupid ones. It's more annoying than it is truly upsetting. It's like, why this one? It should have been probably Texas and this road dumb game against BYU. Games that make sense. But the good thing is we only lost road games. We keep it that way, I think I'll be fine.
All right, well said. Well, gentlemen, it's about that time. Y'all already know. We're going to go around the table before we get out of here. But before we do that, there's been a lot of pain discussed on this podcast. And the best thing, and I'm not a doctor, by the way, so don't any of you degenerates say anything about medical advice. And this is not financial nor medical advice. But if you're in a lot of pain, a little Shady Mile, rye, Shady Mile wheat. In all seriousness, guys, a big shout out to Shady Mile. Them working with the channel. It's been awesome. They have been just great as sponsors. And I say this every time, for them to be one of the oldest distilleries in Kentucky, to offer a product at the price point they offer it at, that's a good product, a real good product. You got to love it. It's one of those companies where they're looking after the consumer. Everybody's got to make money, but it's about making money the right way, where you're providing a product that you have faith in at a price that you're proud of, and you're happy to distribute it to people. And listen, I think that's one of the reasons why Shady Mile and myself have worked out, is we're kind of both just all about trying to provide a product that's good, right? Not too flashy. We're just here to, you want some whiskey, go to Shady Mile. You want some nonsense spewed about college football, you come here, right? It's all understood. We know what's up. And so it works. So thank you to Shady Mile. Thank you to Home Field. Home Field, by the way, guys, they just released some wild stuff. They just released snapbacks, by the way, which I'm going to be all over that. You saw the Letterman jackets they released, Jay.
I did see those.
Yeah, you want 15% off. Use ATTS 15 for 15% off down at the bottom. You can get you some real good stuff. Blood says Ty's next stop is a used car salesman. Not if the car is new, Blood. Not if the car is new. I'll be a new car salesman. All right, guys, we're going to go around the table. Jason, we'll start with you. Let the people know where they can find all your great content.
Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the Coach. It's at CFB-pod right here on YouTube, and at JW_HOF on Twitter, and then HOFmedia.us. You can find us right there. Thanks for having me on, man. It was good.
Always, man. Always.
Well, I'm Brinsky Shaw with the Sharpshooters Podcast. Like I said, you can catch us every Wednesday. The videos drop every Wednesday. Various times, like I said, 10, 2, but it will be on every Wednesday. But we're going to have a special guest on tomorrow. He's just so happened to be on the show. And there he goes. So we're going to have a good time. It's not your ordinary sports show. It's basically barbershop talk or whatnot. He can lay his hair down and all that.
Get a fade.
And you know what? We're going to actually have the other guys, Ty and Jason, in there. And it's going to be a different move for them than what we do here. But thank you for everybody for all your support. And keep on supporting. And I just want to point out one more thing, Ty. Jay's shirt. Do you see what that is?
I don't.
Stand out above the crowd.
Y'all not ready for it.
Say that all this whole stream. I was like, man, that is beautiful, man. I love that shirt. I just had to get that out there.
Gotta have my power line going, baby. That's that. Yeah, some. You know me. I love a great t-shirt. So but yeah. Jay Smith, Unfair Sports. You know where to find me. Just pull up. Make sure you wipe your feet. Jason, wipe your feet. Ty, come pull up. Me and Brinsky later. We're gonna be doing some big stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Ty, as usual, thank you for hosting yet another great episode.
Y'all already know, man. And you can find me tomorrow. No Through the Haze. We'll just be releasing some content. And then tomorrow in the evening, you can find me over on the Bama Standard at the Final Whistle, as we'll be discussing the LSU win with some former Bama guys like Matt Caddell, Chris James. Heck, we had Chris Owens on the other day, former Alabama offensive lineman, plays with the Patriots. That was a great time. We all dressed up in our Halloween costumes, and we had a show. I'll put it like that. After that, at 10 o'clock, I don't know whether it's 10 o'clock Eastern or 10 o'clock Central, which is a problem. You can find me on the Bleacher Report show, as we'll be breaking down the college football playoff selection and talking about Alabama's place within the college football playoffs, how they can get there, and how things could get real hairy real quick for this committee. And I must admit, I don't envy their position if things fall the way they could. They will have some big decisions in front of them, and we will have a lot of arguments. But until then, guys, be easy, have a good day, and we will see y'all next time. That's it. See ya. And then it just